Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Wealth After Work, the show designed to help you successfully in and through your retirement. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and joining me in the studio today are two members from ASC Financial Group. We have Josiah Grausa, who is the Vice President and Senior Advisor, and Senior Advisor Taylor Munoz. We're so glad you're joining us today. You're going to want to stick around. We like to have a lot of fun, and really at the end of the day, this show is about you and helping you succeed in your retirement. We're actually going to be answering questions from our audience that have come in over the last several months, and who knows, we might be answering one of your questions. So Josiah, Taylor, great to be here with both of you this week. I look forward to this time always. How are you?
Always great to be with you. Doing well.
It is awesome being with you, Kristen.
Well,
and again, I'm going to make sure as I talk with my hands, I don't accidentally smack Taylor or anything here, but I love being here. It's exciting.
It is such a joy to get to serve the communities of Northeast Pennsylvania and Northwest New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And for you that don't know, Taylor is quite the wisecracker. He always loves to tell me a funny joke before we start, and I can't help but laugh. So thank you for that.
It helps break the ice a little bit before we get going.
It does, for sure. Awesome. Yeah. All right, well, what do you say we answer some viewer questions this week? You ready?
Let's go.
Okay, awesome. So first up, our first question today comes from Debbie P., who's in Bethlehem. She says, I'm 62 years old and preparing to retire in the next few years. I've been hearing a lot about annuities, but there seems to be so many and it's quite confusing. Can you explain the differences between them and how they work? Such an important question. Sure.
Yeah, that's a great question. And Debbie, thank you so much for asking for that. So let's kind of break out some of the annuities here. Now, I will tell you that these are some complex type of vehicles or instruments. So I'm going to try to do this at a little bit more of a high level here. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start off first by just kind of going over really the three different types that we've got.
Okay.
A fixed, a variable, and an indexed. So a fixed annuity, Debbie, is something that's going to be similar to like a bank CD. It's going to have a fixed guaranteed interest rate, will be a little bit higher interest than typically what a CD will be, with a little bit more liquidity that they have. And then you've got a variable annuity. And with a variable annuity, this is going to be for somebody who is looking for a little bit more return that they have. And so that variable means that it's actually going to be in the market. Okay. Mm-hmm. Essentially, it is like a mutual fund that is tied in an insurance wrapper. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's going to have a lot of the gains of the market. Mm-hmm. Can also take some of the losses of the market as well.
Right.
Okay. It's got a little bit of safety there, but that safety is if the market goes down, the account value goes down, and you die, they'll guarantee some of that money back to your beneficiary. Now, Taylor, somebody dying in order for that guarantee to kick in is a little bit more than what I would like to do.
Not ideal, right?
Not ideal in my opinion from there.
Right.
And so then you have an indexed annuity. And with an indexed annuity, it's like if a fixed and a variable came together and had a baby, okay? That's going to be an indexed annuity that you have. It's got the fixed portion, but instead of it having a guaranteed interest rate, what that's going to really take a look at is your return is going to be linked to an external index, okay? There's a lot of different indexes out there, but for argument's sake, we're going to talk about like the S&P 500, a return linked to the S&P. And some of these indexed annuities have participations of 40, 50, even as high as 60% right now of the market upside. But if the market goes down, the floor is zero, okay? That means you may not make any money that year, but you can't lose anything, okay?
Yep.
But let me talk about a couple of dangers, a couple of concerns with annuities that we want to take a look at as well. And the first is going to be length of time. These are a little bit more longer term investments, things around maybe 5 years, 7 years, 10-year length of time. If we have to cash out, they could have some higher surrender charges, okay? And so like if I'm looking to buy a house in the next 2 to 3 years, I probably wouldn't put this in like a 10-year annuity from there, okay? Also, we take a look at here is some of these are going to have some high fees as well.
Yes.
Particular in the area of the variable annuities. In fact, we had a client, Bill, who's up in Walnutport, Pennsylvania, and he came in to see me. He had one of these variable annuities. And the biggest problem with these fees with variable annuities is they're hidden. It's actually knowing the right questions to ask, which is something we do when we sit down with them, is we kind of go over that process. And with Bill, we talked about it. He was paying about a little over 4% in fees. That equated to about $45,000 a year that Bill had no idea that he was paying.
Wow.
And what's nice is we were able to bring him through a process that was able to reduce that fee to less than 1%.
Holy moly, what a difference. Because I know it's variable annuities that are often giving all annuities a bad rap, particularly because of the high fees, and you're paying those fees even when there's a loss in those accounts. So important difference and distinguisher for sure. I'm curious because Debbie has brought up such a great question. I mean, the reality is we could do an entire show just on this subject, right? But Taylor, I'd love for you to weigh in on this. How would you advise someone who's approaching or in retirement regarding what might be the right annuity strategy for them?
Yeah, so it always begins with us taking a financial deep dive with someone. Everyone's circumstances are going to be unique. So we always talk about our retirement income analysis that we do. That's going to be our starting point. We need to have some benchmarks about what are the income sources someone has, what are the expenses that they have, what are their needs and priorities. We have to get all of that fleshed out before we can make any real recommendations. And then what we do from there is we start visualizing what retirement looks like with these folks and what are our other sources of income? What other assets do we have? So do they have existing annuities? Do they have a pension? What is their Social Security benefit going to be at various times that they might choose to take it? Have they already taken Social Security? Do they have a 401k, a 403b, an IRA? We look at all of that big picture in order to be able to then formulate what is our need? Is there a gap that we need to fill, right? And so if we take into account Social Security, we take into account any pensions and then any other retirement accounts, then we look at the picture and see, is an annuity, in this case specifically a fixed index annuity, the appropriate strategy for this person to help fill that gap, take some risk off the table, as well as maximize income for their specific situation.
Okay, well, I know that a lot of our viewers watching might already have an existing annuity contract. And, you know, if you're out there and you're like, I'm not even sure what I actually own, I know something that you're willing to do is to look over existing annuity contract and see if it is in fact the right tool and in that person's best interest. So, you know, is there a time where you're able to review that and say, hey, you know what, we can actually put you in a better situation, or maybe we need to do something different altogether?
Yeah, well, the short answer is yes. And we do that all the time for folks. And as Josiah had mentioned, we walk individuals through that. We know the questions to ask about knowing the right questions.
Yes.
We reach out to companies directly for individuals that have existing annuities so that we can get a full picture of what are the benefits that are being offered, what are the fees and other terms that might be applying to their specific contract, and is it appropriate for the place in their life where these folks are at that time. So we start by seeing what does the existing annuity have. And then the nice thing about annuities is that you can do you can transfer or replace into another annuity product, you know, a 1035 exchange where there is no tax application. You can just go into a product that has a better terms and potentially better benefits, lesser fees, more enhanced income for those folks. So, you know, we have clients that came in recently. They're from Blakesley in our area. And they had an existing variable annuity. We called and we asked those questions. We laid out all the fees. So you called
the annuity company, right?
We called the annuity company for the existing. They're there with us to authorize us to speak with them. And we're going through each category of the fees that could be attached to this variable annuity contract. And similar to the example that Josiah gave, they had more than 3% in fees they were paying on an annual basis.
Wow.
And it was an underwhelming income benefit that they had attached to their annuity.
Right.
And we were able, their annual income would have been $9,000 off of this specific annuity, and we were able to replace that contract, cut their fee by 2/3,
wow,
as well as maximize their income for another $4,000 of income on the greater than what they would have gotten in that existing annuity.
That's a huge difference.
It's amazing.
Oh my goodness.
So that's the process that we lead folks through.
Right.
And so, for the viewer today that's watching, if, maybe you have an annuity, you're not even fully aware of the complexities and what's involved in this annuity and the contract that you're in. You don't know if it's maybe best meeting your needs in retirement as you sit here today. Or maybe you've been considering, hey, is an annuity something that I should be looking at as a means to help maximize my income and reduce some risk as I plan out my retirement income picture? Then we just encourage you to reach out to us. We want to lead you through our retirement income analysis. There's no obligation, no cost. We just want to sit down with you, ask the right questions, and then equip you with the tools and the options that you have in order to make some decisions. So call the number on the screen or scan the QR code, and we would love to work with you.
Awesome. Taylor, Josiah, thank you so much. And thank you, Debbie, for that important question. No doubt so many other folks watching have that same question. So thank you for your detailed explanation. And again, this might be something that applies to you. You might have an existing annuity contract and you're wanting a second set of eyes to see what you have, if it is in fact in your best interest, or like that example that Taylor just shared, could you potentially put yourself in an even better financial situation? We encourage you to reach out to schedule your complimentary retirement income analysis. 844-918-4867 is the number to call. Or again, you're welcome to scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. We've got more viewer questions for you. Stay with us. We'll be back after this.
Our money goes through 3 phases throughout our lives. We accumulate it, we protect it, and then we distribute it.
Most people entering retirement, they're taking way too much risk.
We take a look at where they currently are. In the positions and the accounts that they have, is that enough? Is it generating enough income for them in order to achieve those goals and aspirations?
A successful retirement basically says, I am giving permission to spend money.
It's being able to do everything you have in retirement without worrying of, do I have enough money?
It's us focusing on what are the things in retirement that we want to do, that we dream of doing, that we never got to do while we were working.
Being able to spend more time with their grandchildren, be able to travel.
At the end of the day, we don't want a one-size-fits-all for retirement. We dive into an individual's needs. It's really a forensic approach to income planning.
Welcome back to this very special edition of Wealth After Work. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with both Josiah and Taylor from ASC Financial Group. And today we are answering viewer questions. Thank you again to all of you who have submitted questions. We know we have some loyal, faithful viewers week after week, and we've got some more questions to get to. So you guys ready?
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. So next up, the next question comes from Tim R. from Music. And he says, I'm 65 years old and still working, but what keeps me up at night is the fear that I will outlive my money. How do I know if I've saved enough money for my retirement? Gosh, this is a question so many folks are asking, no doubt. So, I think there's so much that goes into this. Taylor, I'll start with you. And how would you handle Tim's question?
Yeah, well, Tim, thank you for the question. And your question is likely the single most pressing question that we get from anyone that comes in to meet with us and talk about anything pertaining to their retirement. The first question is always, do I have enough money? Will I outlive my income? So, the first question about, the first place that we want to begin with this, and again, we talk all about this. We need to establish benchmarks. We need to do an in-depth look at each person's situation. We need to know, what kind of income do you need and what should you expect to get from your existing guaranteed income sources versus the retirement accounts that you might have. So really, there is no one-size-fits-all strategy. It's all about diving into that retirement income analysis with each person. What we do know that we want to do ultimately, and we talk a lot about this, is we want to pivot from a strategy as you go towards retirement, from the accumulation phase to the preservation phase and then taking distributions from your accounts. We want to always pivot towards income. And if we're maximizing the income from our investments and our different retirement assets, then we're automatically reducing risk and increasing the predictability and certainty in our retirement plan. And when you add that predictability and certainty in, it becomes less of a concern about, am I going to outlive my income, when you have more renewable streams of income being introduced, and we're starting to diversify across some different types of mediums for generating that income.
I think it's really encouraging for our viewers to know that this is the number one question you all get, right?
Yeah.
How do I know if I've saved enough?
Mhm.
And most people, you only go through retirement one time, right? But you have helped thousands of people walk through this process and navigate this question successfully. So Josiah, I know you've had clients that have come to meet with you who've had that exact same fear. Any other stories come to mind of how you've helped them navigate that?
Yeah, let me talk to you about Joyce. Joyce is from Hackettstown. She was 64 years old. Her goal was she was going to retire at full retirement age of 67 for her Social Security. Okay. However, she came to see me last March, and one of the things she told me was, Josiah, I'm starting to hear rumblings that the company is going to start to downsize here.
Yeah.
And they're talking about potentially laying off some of the senior staff, which was her. They were starting to give out some early retirement packages. Now, she was really concerned because she still had 3 more years to go before she was able to retire. And so she was really worried. And so we brought her through exactly what Taylor mentioned, our retirement income analysis. And what was awesome about that was we were able to show her some of these strategies where if she shifted some of her assets that they did and focused more on income generation, things that were not available in her 401k, that she was able to provide enough income that she could retire early, take that package if she wanted, or continue to work. Nice thing is I got a phone call 4 months later. It was in September. She told me, Josiah, I decided to take that package. And you know what? I have such peace of mind knowing that everything's going to be okay, and I'm still able to do those things that I wanted to do in retirement.
And what strikes me is she had that relationship with you all. She did the plan so that when the storm came, she was ready for it.
Absolutely.
That's a game changer. Absolutely, for sure. Well, I know that sometimes folks that come in to meet with you might already have some semblance of a retirement plan in place. Do you find, some viewers might be thinking, well, it's too late for me, or I'm too far down the road in my retirement. But is that really the case? Is it ever too late to make tweaks and adjustments?
Yeah, I will tell you, Kristen, it is never too late. Okay. For some people, maybe they got some bad advice. They got one of these bad annuities. Okay. They could be great in the right situation. They can be disastrous in the wrong situation. Okay. The other thing is that we see often that could happen is something known as paralysis by analysis.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So that means that, there's a lot of these decisions and a lot of fears that we start to go into retirement. I no longer have that paycheck that I've had over the last 20, 25, 30 years or more. And so they're so concerned that they wind up doing nothing. The nice thing is, what I will let you know is that we can sit down with you. We can make you feel comfortable. We can make you put at ease here. Because here's the thing, you kind of mentioned it a little earlier. We only get to retire right one time, okay? And we want you to feel comfortable in that retirement decision and the choices that we make here. And so one of the things we find are those who tend to make more of the right decisions are the ones who are more educated about those decisions. And so that's why it's really important that who you're sitting down with, they make you feel comfortable. But the most important, they listen to you. They listen to what your goals are, what your priorities are, and maybe what your dream retirement is. And so folks, for you sitting at home, if that's you, if you have this fear, if you have this paralysis by analysis, if you're not sure if you're in the right investment, if you think you made some wrong decisions along the road, have confidence and understanding that it's not going to be too late. I'm going to encourage you to pick up that phone, give us a call at that number below at the bottom of the screen, sit down with a member of ASC Financial Group. We'll walk you through this retirement income analysis, making sure that you feel comfortable and that you are able to achieve the retirement of your dreams.
Josiah Taylor, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is 844-918-4867. Or again, you're welcome to scan that QR code and that will get connected as well. We'll be back with more viewer questions. Stay with us.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to Wealth After Work, where today we have been taking the time to answer some of our viewer questions. Thank you again to all of you who have submitted questions. We wish there was more time. We could just do this all day. We're having so much fun, right?
I love these type of segments, though, because I know we're answering things what's really important to our viewers.
Well, and if one person's asking it, we know that multiples of you have the same exact question. So let's get to this question next from Susan B. from Belvedere. She said, I'm 60 years old and I have heard horror stories from some of my retired friends about making the wrong decision of when to claim my Social Security benefit. What are the pitfalls I should be aware of, and how do I make sure the same thing doesn't happen to me? Ooh, this is a great question. And I know there's, again, so much we need to unpack with this one.
Yeah. So Susan, thank you again so much for that question. When it comes to Social Security, it's always that question of when is the best time. And so let's really talk about the negatives here, or what are these concerns or pitfalls. And when it comes to the timing, what I will see over and over again are people who claim Social Security too early. And what I mean by too early is underneath full retirement age. Because a lot of people don't understand the problems that come out by doing it a little bit early. First is you get a reduction, a permanent reduction, in some cases between 25 to 30%. That's there for the rest of your retirement years that you have. But the biggest part, or what compounds that problem, is now the Social Security Administration says that you are in an income limitation. You can only earn a little over $23,000. And if you earn more than that, the penalty is for every $2 over, $1 of your Social Security is forfeited. So that's about 50%, okay?
Right. Yep.
So making sure that time is really important. Second pitfall, I'll say, is specifically with married couples, that we have not coordinated our benefits well enough. And what I mean by that is you may have one spouse that's the higher earner, and as that spouse is wanting to collect that Social Security, a lot of times they say, well, if I delay, I'm going to get 8% more, so I'm going to wait a little bit longer. What they don't realize is there may be a spousal benefit that the lower income Social Security earner would not be able to collect, because they would have to wait until the higher earner claims that benefit. And see, that's the difference of what we talk about between Social Security maximization, just getting the largest check out of Social Security, to Social Security optimization, which is an individualized approach of what is best for you and your family based on your situations that you have. And then the last thing I'm going to say here that we see is sometimes not understanding for those who are divorced or widowed are some of the benefits that we see out there. And so I think about Diane, who is from Stroudsburg. She works over at Driscoll Foods. And so she came in to see me at 65. She wanted to start collecting her Social Security. But as I went through this retirement income analysis with her, what it turns out, what we were able to do is actually turn on her widower benefit, allowing her Social Security benefit to get that 8% increase until age 70.
Right, it was growing in the background, so to speak.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And so she was able to turn that on at 70, getting a lot more money. And if she went with her original strategy, she would have left tens of thousands of dollars on the table that she didn't know that she could collect. That's why it is so important to make sure you're understanding these rules.
Yes, and as you guys know, I used to travel nationwide and present on the subject of Social Security. It's something I'm very passionate about as well. And if I can brag on you guys and the team of ASC Financial Group, in case you're not aware, the Social Security Administration is allowed to give you information, but they are not allowed to give you individual personalized advice based on your situation. They are order takers. They're not going to be able to give you the same level of confidence in knowing that you're making that optimal decision for you. The only way you're going to get that is by sitting down in the financial planning environment with a group like ASC Financial. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about the tools that you all are able to use to help people navigate through that decision successfully.
Yeah, and as you're saying, Kristen, you know, I've actually heard very positive things from a lot of folks in our area reaching out to their local Social Security office to get information. But they provide information, we provide strategy.
Yes.
And it's only by sitting down with you and understanding your overall picture that we can provide that strategy. But for all the folks that we meet with in our office, we lead them through a standard process that we have where we do what's called a Social Security optimization analysis or report. And we always recommend that folks do this because it's going to show you a comparison. It's a comparison of what you plan to do, what you were originally thinking about in terms of when you were going to file for Social Security versus what's optimal, right? And really it's what's optimal on paper. Optimal doesn't necessarily mean achievable. It just gives us a frame of reference to know if we maybe delay a little bit here or we tweak something here. These are some ways that we could further extend and optimize our benefits. So we go through all those factors that folks need to consider, whether, you know, from longevity and health to the other income producing assets that they have. And we really go through this in-depth analysis for them. And, you know, it's really beneficial for folks to see what the difference between filing early versus filing at their full retirement age, and then the impact of delaying if they're able to, at least for one spouse.
Right.
And it also is a powerful tool to show when we talk about the concept of survivorship income, right? So when the higher income earner passes away, then and either of the spouse, you know, the husband or wife pass away, one is going to step up or remain at the higher benefit and an entire benefit's lost. But it's always helpful to see this analysis that we do in order to see what that number actually looks like. So that's what we do for folks in order to help optimize their benefit the best. So what we just say is if you're at home right now and you're not quite sure of how to best optimize your Social Security benefit, what the appropriate timing for you might be, we encourage you to pick up the phone, give us a call. We also want to look at your Social Security benefit in the grand scheme of your overall retirement income picture because we don't want to make decisions in a vacuum. So we encourage you to reach out to us, call the number on the screen, scan the QR code. We'd love to sit down with you and go through your personalized Social Security optimization analysis.
Taylor Josiah, thank you so much. Thank you for being here today. Be safe, be happy, be blessed, and we look forward to being back with you next time here on Wealth After Work.